Good evening. Hey, it's good to be here. It's good to be back. Oh, man. Tonight, I just want to welcome all of you here tonight. And, of course, I know so many of you, and I'm so blessed. And if not, my name's Brian. And my wife, Marlene, and I are here tonight and just love you dearly. It's good to be back to a place we used to call home. But also, more importantly, that we're in the midst of just family. We're all family here. Yeah, tonight's a special night. I'm going to ask if we can. There's a tripod and a whiteboard that will go right here as well. Tonight, I'm excited that we're here tonight. You know, I always say when I teach that whenever this student is ready, the teacher appears. And tonight, I trust that our heart is ready to be students. I would think that we would want to be here with an open heart, that maybe there's something I'm looking forward to a new nugget in my life. I'm looking forward to a new word for me in my life. And I hope that you're here as well, looking forward to that too. And if you're visiting, we do want to welcome you. All right. Oh, thank you so much. You know, I want to say this, and I'm only going to speak one more minute, and then I want to introduce Jeff. I think sometimes in life we get used to things, and I would encourage you, don't get used to Sunday nights. And this is what I mean. Sometimes we take some things for granted. Don't take this for granted. This is a special place. You're special people. And so I hope that you would sacrifice your time, your talent, and your treasure into this place. Because those things that we take for granted sometimes are the most important things in our life. So I wanted to share that. Jeff Vanvonderen is become a new friend of mine. We're totally blessed. Because it's been such a God thing for him to be in our region over the next couple, 2 or 3 days. As soon as I knew he was coming, I knew he needed to be here tonight with you all, because you're my friends, and I just want to introduce my new friends to some of my other friends, and so I knew immediately that I would want him to be here. Jeff is a former pastor. He's a clinical interventionist. I didn't know if you guys knew that. He was on this little show. And, you know, of course, he was on the A&E show, Intervention, and beginning in 2005 for the next 6 to 8 years, they did win 2 Emmys with the best reality show. More importantly, he has insights that we need. He has insights that we need. He's married, and he is a father of 4 grown children, all married, and lives in northern Wisconsin. Just to let you know, he's been on Fox and CNN and Oprah, of course, but his most famous role was on South Park. And then, Jeff, I did a little Google search. Listen, look at me. 2013, were you in the you were in the song with Rihanna? They did a line. I mean, now you've hit the jackpot, man. So you're at a whole new level with me. So to let you know, he's an author of 7 books, working on his 8th right now. He has a heart for us. He has a word for us. And so would you welcome our new friend, Jeff Vanvonderen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Hey there. So is the mic on? It's on, right? Okay. Wow. Yeah, so South Park, don't watch it. Okay, it's filthy. It's filthy. I mean, they can be really mean, but they weren't mean. They were just ludicrous and filthy. And, you know, if you want to see mean, Look at the Dog the Bounty Hunter one. That was mean. Okay, they weren't mean to me, but it was still. And don't let your kids watch it for sure. Okay, not that episode. Okay, I just want to clear something up here because, you know, I mean, obviously some of you have, he just made a big deal about the Eminem song and all this. So I'm sitting on a plane next to this guy, and someone comes around the corner and recognizes me, and they're making a big deal. Oh, I know you, I know him, look at him, he's great, he's up, on and on. Baby steps, because people are putting their luggage up, you know, so, I know him, like this, pointing at me. And when she gets done, when she gets past, the guy sitting next to me says, don't worry, I don't have a clue who you are. And I said, that might be true, but now everybody thinks you're going to rehab. Which brings me to the topic of being treated like a celebrity. And the dictionary says that the definition of celebrity is a person to be celebrated. And that's you guys, not me. That's the person who realizes that the direction they're going isn't working, and they turn around and go the other way and do whatever work they have to do to get their lives back and their family back and work again and all that. That's the person to be celebrated. I just show up. I just show up. And you know what? I'm penciled in. I'm penciled in. I'm not penned in. I'm penciled in. I walk out the door tonight and get hit by a bus, God will get this done. But I get to do it because I'm here, so I'll do it. But I'm not the celebrity. I'm not the person to be celebrated. You are. I feel really deeply about this. Can you tell? You are the people to be celebrated. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about some things tonight, and I asked in the back, how long can I talk? And he said, talk as long as you want to. And I said, no, you can't tell me that. Don't tell me that. So I actually have some dudes going to walk up here. If you notice, I'm going to go like this, and that means 5 minutes left, okay? So I'm going to talk until my time's up. I want to say that there's 3 basic needs. I think that everybody has 3 basic needs. And I'm not talking about like physical needs of food and all this. I'm talking about psycho-emotional, spiritual needs. And the first need that we have is that we need to know that we are loved and accepted. But in order for this to work, in order for this to get in, it has to be without strings. So this is not love and acceptance if you do something, when you do something, if you stop doing something. This is just a gift based on the person who's giving it, okay? Earned love, which we've all experienced, is a contradiction. In other words, there's no such thing as earned love. That is an oxymoron. Those 2 words contradict each other. It's like there's a place where I live with a sign that says sanitary landfill. Think about that. Yeah. See, those 2 words don't go together. Earned love does not go together. See, if I think you're going to love me if, when, because, somehow it's based on me, then I'm going to figure out what I have to do to get that from you. So I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then let's see what else I got here. I'll do this as if I need this. I mean, my lucky comb. Okay, I'll do this. Okay. And now you love me and accept me because I did all that. And then, but what happens that stops. And then you take back your love and acceptance, that means it never was mine anyway. If you can take it back, it was never mine. You know, only love and acceptance that is unconditional, based on the fullness of the one giving it and not on the performance of the one getting it, works. So I'm doing counseling with this lady, and she's about 50 years old, and she had a really bad relationship with her mother, so bad that like 30 years ago, she stopped, get away from me, stay away. I can't do this. Okay, so it's been 30 years. So now her mom's 80 years old, and she finds out that her mom has some kind of terminal illness, and she's only got a few weeks to live, and mom's going to come to visit. And I'm assuming mom wants to come and visit to kind of talk this out and end on a good note or whatever. But the woman's really scared about this, and because she's never had any positive thing going on between her and her mother anyway, and now mom's coming to town. The woman lives in a small, modest house, modestly decorated. She dresses modestly, and she could wear what she wanted to. What she'd rather wear, it would be like, sweatpants and a flannel shirt. I mean, she just was laid back, okay? But mom's coming. So she goes out and buys 3 new outfits. One for every day that mom's going to be there, and then she goes to Marshall's or someplace like that and buys these knickknacks and pictures and stuff and hangs them on the wall because mom's coming. So mom comes, and they have the visit, and then mom leaves, and now she's in my office again, and she's telling me how this was a pretty good visit. Actually, it was not what she expected, and it's kind of a happy story. And when she gets done telling me the happy story, she starts sobbing, like gut-wrenching, sobbing, uncontrollable sobbing. Not like tears of joy. And I said, when she was able to answer, I said, okay, so now tell me about that, because the crying that happened there at the end doesn't really match the story. What's that about? She said, I still don't know if my mom is okay with me because I didn't give her me. I gave her clothes I don't usually wear. I gave her knickknacks I don't usually have on the wall. I don't know if I'd have come to the door and said, okay, this is me, if she would have loved me. And you know what? We need to know. We need to know. Now, we're not going to have a lot of people in our lives that give us that. But guess what? We don't have to have a lot of people in our lives that give us that. Just some. Just some people. So we need to know that we're loved and accepted without strings. And if it's not without strings, it won't get in. Because even then, if you have been beat up that way, if you've been denied that or whatever, when you finally do get the love, see what she did was she actually perhaps got the love and acceptance she wanted from her mom, and it bounced off. It bounced off. People who struggle with this, somebody does a nice thing for them, and they think, yeah, what do they want? And they don't let it in. Or they think, well, yeah, but if they knew about me what I knew about me, they wouldn't be being so nice to me. And it bounces off, see? There's a deep wound to not have love and acceptance without strings. Second need, we need to know that we're worthwhile. Now, what I want to say about this is that this is not the same as worthy. Worthy means deserving. Okay? This is not worthwhile means having worth. We need to know that we have worth. A lot of us struggle with this because we've had worthwhile and worthy mixed up. And so because we know we don't deserve something, we don't accept it, or we discount it, or we demand it because we think we do deserve it, And let me just say this. I like to go to antique stores. I'm buying stuff all year. I got 16 grandkids, okay? I mean, I got grandkids up the wazoo. I got grandkids. So I'm going to buy them presents, but not just like, you know, some game off of Amazon, but I like to look for stuff that fits them. So I'm looking, snooping around in auctions and whatever, antique stores. So I go to this antique store, and here's this thing. And I pick it up, and I don't even know what it is. I can't, what is this thing? What's this? I don't even know. Turn it over. 75 bucks. They want 75 bucks for this thing. I don't even know what this is. Get out of here, you know. Then she comes in, and she goes, oh, wow, I've been looking for that thing. I can't believe I found it. It's only 75 bucks. So she pays 75 bucks. What is this worth? 75 bucks, you guys. This is worth 75 bucks. You can tell what something is worth by what somebody is willing to pay for it. You understand that? You can tell what it's worth by what somebody's willing to pay for it. Now listen, if you don't hear anything else that I say tonight, listen. You can tell what you're worth by what God was willing to pay for you. Not because you were worthy, but what God did is a gift. You don't have to deserve gifts. You understand that? That's another one of those oxymoron things. The deserving gifts is a contradiction. Gifts are free. And you don't get them because you deserve them. You get them because the person is full and wants you to give you something like that. You can tell what you're worth by what God was willing to pay for you. Worth his son. You're worth his son. My grandmother had a hard time with gifts. You know, she grew up in the Depression and all that, and you know, you give her a gift. How many of you have a grandmother or a parent or whatever, you give them a gift and they go, oh, you shouldn't have. Who said, raise your hand. Who knows somebody like, oh, you shouldn't have. Gifts are not should have. Gifts are free. Should have is an arrangement, not a gift, you know. So she'd give it back. Why? Well, because when I gave her the gift, it banged up against her, I don't deserve a gift. So she had to push it away. See? Oh, you shouldn't have. Or she would return it to the store, get the money, and mail it to me. So she still gave it back. Do you understand? Now, before I was healthy, I figured this out. If I needed a thermos, I'd give her a thermos. True. She'd give me it back, and I have my thermos. Oh my gosh. I finally figured something out to give her that she wouldn't give back. A ham. She loved ham. She loved ham in every form. She loved this thing called boiled dinner, which you make with ham and potatoes and, you know, cabbage and all this. She made that. And she loved pea soup with ham, and she made all this kind of stuff. So what happened was, I gave her this. She went, oh, thank you. Then she froze it. And the next time I came and visited, she took it out and gave it back. Anyway, you know, it's hilarious, except it's sad for her, because she was painfully aware that she did not deserve. She was a Christian her whole life and was afraid of God, tiptoeing just right the whole time, because she didn't get the gift part. And she didn't get the thing about it's not based on your behavior, it's based on his behavior. And we need to know that we're not alone. You know, that's the cool part about groups like this. That's the cool part about it, because, you know, you canceled your support groups for tonight, right? But here's what I know about those. And I've never been here, but I know this about those groups. So you're sitting in a group, and all of a sudden, you know, you get enough courage up to say, here's what I'm going through, okay? And then people do what you're doing right there, which is they nod their head. And then you find out you're not the only one that ever had that. And you're not some special case in the universe who's the only person who ever struggled with this. Other people do too. And not only that, so you're not alone, but not only that, you're also not alone because they will stand with you and go through it with you and support you. Okay? Now, how many of you are parents? Okay, let me just give you a suggestion. When you're looking at your kids misbehaving, because they do, mine did. I got 4 married daughters, you know. All of them were like under 7 and also teenagers all at the same time. Wow. Anyway, next time you respond to what they're doing that they shouldn't be doing, that would be a bad choice on their part, ask yourself, which one of these needs are they trying to get by that behavior? You understand what I just said? Because that behavior makes sense, even if it doesn't make sense to you. They're trying to get something with that behavior. You know, people don't misbehave to make themselves worse. People don't sin to put themselves in a worse position. You know, when I was doing the stuff that I was doing back in the 70s, I wasn't doing that to get worse. I was doing that because I thought this is really going to meet some need of mine. It didn't, you know, and I ended up with a bunch of false gods. I've been trying to smuggle recovery into the church for 40 years. And finally, here I am, I'm standing. The church is a tough crowd. They're a tough crowd. You know, Alcoholics Anonymous has sent way more people to church than the church has sent to AA. Way more, you know. And you know, the biggest problem that the church has with 12 steps and all that is higher power. Higher power. They don't want you to have God as you understand them. They want you to have God as I understand them. And if you can't, well, then you don't fit in. Now, I'm going to tell you, God as I understand him is Jesus. That's my bias. Okay? And there's a reason for that. And the reason is because I have what I have from God because of Jesus' behavior in gift form only and not based on my behavior. That's the good news for me. Before that, I had a different higher power, and that was alcohol or drugs or people's approval was a big false god for me. What people don't understand, you know, because I hear this all the time, I have a real hard time with this higher power thing. Do you know that everybody has a higher power, even if it's not God? Everybody has a higher power. Everybody has a God as they understand them, even if it's themselves. You know, I just think that if you're going to have a higher power, it should be higher. I mean, just saying. Right? So, like, this is not going to work. Group might. That's more, higher. But it's been a tough struggle. And part of it is because the church doesn't, what I just described to you is called grace. Grace. And my experience is that we're afraid to give people too much grace because they might go off the rails. And I just don't think that's true. I think that if you let grace in and understand it, it changes you, and then you stay on the rails that God wants you to stay on. How much time do I have left? When that clock hits what? When am I done? Okay? All right, I'm gonna 8:15. I don't know, will this work? Not really. No, this is horrible. That's good enough. That's good enough. Okay, so I want to say a little piece about the difference between guilt and shame, okay? Guilt, because we struggle with this as recovering people, because we have a lot of evidence against us that even if the judge doesn't know it, we know it. Guilt is an emotion about behavior. It's about what you do. Guilt says what I did was wrong. It's a signal. What I did was wrong. I did a bad thing. I made a mistake. That, guilt, pay attention to guilt, because guilt is telling you that you have done something inconsistent with your own value system. Think about this. Think about the week before you started down the path of addiction. Okay, it's going to be different for everybody. But think about this. The week before, okay, if I had had a conversation with you that week and predicted the next 5 years, or 10, or 15, or 1, or said, here's what you're going to do in the next 10 years. Here's the people you're going to hurt. Here's the lies you're going to tell. Here's the things you're going to sacrifice. Here's the dreams you're going to give up. You'd say, there's no way. I'd never do that. In other words, you yourself wouldn't believe it. Now we're at the end of the 10 years and your family or whoever was looking at you and they can't believe it, but my point is, you yourself wouldn't believe it, which means when you were doing your addiction, you were acting and living inconsistent with your own value system. And you should be feeling guilty. But what you do is you medicate the guilt instead of paying attention to it, like making amends and apologizing and fixing things and all that. And so then the hole keeps getting deeper for you. Guilt is a good thing. Pay attention to it. But guilt is about behavior. And because it's about behavior, you can do something about it. Shame is not about behavior, and it's not even a feeling, I don't think. We say, don't you feel ashamed, or you ought to feel ashamed. I don't think it's a feeling. I think it's more of a judgment or a belief about or an assessment of you. That's why we say, shame on you. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Okay? It's the same signal about you that guilt is about behavior. But it's going to two different places. So guilt says what I did was wrong. Shame says something's wrong with me. Okay? Guilt says I did a bad thing. Shame says I'm a bad person. Guilt says I made a mistake. Shame says I'm the mistake. Have you ever heard anybody say, I can't do anything right? I can never do anything right. Maybe some of you have actually said that. I can never do anything right. Can you hear that phrase is more about the person who can't do it right than it is about whether they do it right? Do you understand that? That is not a phrase about doing. That's a phrase about the person. So it's not guilt, it's shame. Guilt, you can do something about. Shame, God can do something about. See, what God does is He makes us new creations. So that issue's over. But that's hard to believe because we live in a shame-based world, basically, that's pointing fingers at us. Have you ever seen a billboard for like an automobile? Who's seen that? Billboard for an automobile. It doesn't say, boy, you're really stupid and defective without having this car. It doesn't say that. No, what it says is, this car has the ability to make you powerful and have prestige. What does that say about you without the car? Yeah. So, if you buy the car, it'll give you that. That's how they sell cars. Cars don't have the power to make us valuable people. Cars have the power to get us from point A to point B, maybe, hopefully. They don't have the power to make you special and whatever. You want to know how you can tell if somebody's using a car to make them special? They park in 2 spots. They park in 2 spots in the parking lot. Because if this is their source, now, false god, higher power, if this is their source of that they want to point at and say, this is what makes me something, then they got to make sure you can't get too close to it. Understand? You can tell what somebody's false gods are by what happens when you get too close to them. So what I do, if I see that, is I go park as close to them, sideways. You know, I might never be able to meet them and say, Jesus makes you special, but I can tell them what doesn't. That might be the best I can do. All right, so spilling milk is a normal human behavior. When someone spills their milk, they can do a behavior to fix that. Would you please get a towel and clean up the milk? Okay, understand that? It's a behavior, you can fix it with a behavior. But if you say, what is wrong with you? Wow, now milk has become so powerful that it can actually say something bad about you. And those little things that people say, they don't think, words are really powerful. What's wrong with you? How can you do that? Like you that, you know, everybody in the whole planet never would dream of doing that, but you're the only one that ever did that, and what's wrong with you? You know, we are shamed for how fast we eat, for how slow we eat, for how we dress, for our sexual preference, for everything in our world. And then here's God who loves us and gives us a gift that says we're okay for free. That's why Jesus is my higher power. All right, now I'm running out of time. I'm going to do one more thing. And I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to do this because I was looking at when you read the steps up there and stuff, you know, which you just did, the Beatitudes is what you did in Matthew 5. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to split the crowd because you have to understand who Jesus was talking to. Okay, so over here in his crowd, typically, over here were the Pharisees. Sorry. Okay, you're the Pharisees. And you're the religious leaders, and over here are the lepers and prostitutes. Okay. And you are all looking at them, thinking, God, you're not like them. And you are all looking at them, wishing you could be like them. Understand this? And Jesus says, no, you don't get it. Blessed are the broken. Theirs is the kingdom. The kingdom comes to broken people. You guys, you're well. Go be well. You're okay. Go be okay. The kingdom comes to broken people. You, now I'm not talking to Pharisees and lepers anymore. I'm talking to everybody. You do not have to be ashamed or hide the fact that you have issues and that you're broken. The kingdom comes to broken people. Okay, next one. Blessed are those who mourn. There's 9 Greek words for mourn. This one means let outside what's going on the inside. See, you guys are screwed up. You are a mess. You are such a mess, you can't even hide what a mess you are. You're all over on the outside what a mess that you really are on the inside. You guys wouldn't dream of showing on the outside what you're struggling with on the inside. Blessed are those who mourn. They shall be comforted. Comfort comes to broken, mourning people. You guys are well, right? See ya. Go be well. You don't need me. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. You guys are unrighteous. You know you're unrighteous, and you're hungering and thirsting for righteousness. You guys are righteous. Go be righteous. They hated him. He ticked them off. You've heard it said, don't commit adultery. That's you guys, you're all the adulterers. But I say, even if you look at a woman to lust after her, you've broke that rule. So you guys look like a bunch of adulterers. You guys don't, but you are. But you think you're okay. You know what? Here's the deal. If your eye offends you, pluck it out. Because it's better to go into heaven with one eye than to hell with two eyes, which is to say, look, okay, here's how to solve the adultery thing and the lust thing, you guys. Okay, if you find yourself looking at somebody you shouldn't be looking at, pluck your eye out. And you've heard it said, if your hand offends you, cut it off, because it's better to go into heaven with one hand than into hell with two. So, and if you find yourself touching something you shouldn't be touching, cut your hand off. But here's the deal. I'll end with this. But when you get all done plucking stuff out and cutting stuff off, you still have something you can't do anything about, which is your heart. You need a new heart, and you need a new heart, but you know you do, so you get one, and you guys go be well. And they hated him. Don't ever beat yourselves up now. No, we're not Pharisees anymore. Don't ever beat yourself up for struggles. Mourn them. Comfort comes to broken, mourning people. I'm done. Go home. I stole that from Ferris Bueller. Go home.
All right. You know, was there any students here tonight that was taught one thing that you can walk away with? That you just go, man, that was worth it? Because that's really our goal. I think the biggest one is this. That's what I love about Jesus. And I'll close on this. Isn't it great that he just takes us right where we're at? And we don't have to perform. That everything he did on the cross was enough. We don't have to gain to his approval, but because we love him, we just want to respond to him. So I want to share this with you. I know you'll maybe want to meet Jeff or something like that afterwards. But if you just want to know more about Jesus, I'll just sit right here, and if you want to go, never heard this story. Never knew that God loved me so much that Jesus died for me so that we could have abundant life here, but also eternal life. And so maybe tonight you were stirred spiritually. You don't know why, but you were engaged because of what God did through Jeff, but you're just wanting some conversation. I'll just sit right here if you want to have a conversation. Is that cool? Listen this much. Just know you're loved. Have a blessed night. I'm so glad you were here tonight. Bye now.